Hello, I'm Richard Gerald, and this is a story I wrote about 3 years ago. It's called Bringing Maggie Home. When the last child decided on college in California, a continent away from our New York home, I knew my wife would experience some depression. She had been working since he started nursery school, but she was first a mother and only secondarily a wife and a social worker. Admittedly, the big old Victorian house seemed empty with just our cat for company. This was a very unsociable creature who, despite her small size, was the terror of every invading mouse, trespassing squirrel, or pigeon that wished to roost beneath the eaves. Named Marbles for the similarity between her coat and a child's toy agate, she could be petted if you didn't mind being clawed in the process. "Should we get a dog?" she said, about a year into our childless existence. "Really? What about the cat?" I asked, having been married long enough to recognize the difference between a true question and a statement of intent. "There are breeds that are good with cats." "Oh, even our cat?" Thinking that would need to be some dog. "A field spaniel," she said. "You picked a dog?" "No, just the breed. They are rare. It will take some doing to get one." It did. An overnight trip across 3 states for a ball of brown fur, the last of a small litter. He took one look at my wife and was ready to go. She had brought a small box to put the dog in, that she had already named High Tides Freebooter. It was High Tides for the kennel, and Freebooter for the dog, which quickly became Booter. A mile on the long road home, Booter was out of the box, nestled in her arms, his head on her breast. All the long way back he cuddled with her. Home, he was her dog, crying when she would leave and at her feet when she was present. The cat had taken one look and promptly disappeared for 2 weeks, until some foolish mouse snuck beneath the kitchen door. She trapped it in the dining room behind grandmother's sideboard. A fat mouse is a temptation a cat can't resist. Buddha grew into a medium-sized dog, having a chocolate coat that the experts call liver. He was a bit less than 18 inches high at the shoulder, with that long face and spaniel smile that melts your heart. She walked him past the college and through the city commons. The students and the strollers stopped to say hello to the pretty dog. Booter greeted everyone with unquenching enthusiasm. His owner had an inordinate pride in him. He was an active dog, using every bit of the large house and the city's various parks. He didn't fetch. Once obtained, an object belonged to him, and it would take an army of small children to rescue the prize. Older children grew frustrated, but the very young seemed content to chase the brown flash, who would always stay just beyond reach until he collapsed in complete exhaustion. The breed is known for its stubbornness, and Booter was true to the breed. He would follow a scent through a terrain, pulling you along. If you wanted to go left and you right, he would simply sit until you changed your mind. 10 years on, and after a year of insulin shots that saw my arms and hands clawed, the loss of Marbles to feline diabetes was painful, but not unexpected. This was but a shadow of the pain to come. "I hear a murmur," the vet said. At nearly 12, Booter had become an all too frequent visitor to the vets. Field spaniels are not long-lived, and the mention of a murmur as the vet examined Booter's chest left a chill in the room. So it began, the long 6 months of watching Booter get weaker. He died a little each day, yet there were good times. He enjoyed the kittens that replaced Marbles. They followed him about, exploring every nook of the old Victorian with their big brother Booter. Although they never caught a mouse, One kitten was too bold and the other too shy for the task. Buddha's eyes clouded and the pain disrupted his sleep. But he staggered on, always the good companion. By late December, we were debating the inevitable, and when January came, he could neither eat nor sleep. The last time at the vet's, he struggled to sit on the table, unable to stand or lie down. The vet described what he could do for Buddha, but neither his heart nor his professional opinion was in it. My wife struggled to speak, and then she said, "No, I think it is time to say goodbye." She hugged him as the vet injected him. In that moment, his eyes cleared as he looked at her, briefly free from the pain, and then the life went out of them. The trip home seemed much longer than the usual 10 minutes, and it was silent and sad. A year later, I asked the question, "Is it time for another dog?" "No, we're too old," she said. But by the next year, it had become maybe. I began to look for a field spaniel, a task that had become even harder. But in due course, I found one just 4 states away. "It's too far," she said. "Just a little more than last time, and we're no longer working. Too expensive." Actually, the same as last time I paid, remember? But it was no use. There was to be no dog, not yet. The Saturday before Halloween, she called down to me from the room off of our bedroom, where her computer had been set up. "Can she never use the intercom on the phone?" I griped as I hiked up the stairs. "I found her," she said as I entered. "Who?" "Maggie," she said, pointing to the screen where a brown and white pup filled it. "She's a Springer Spaniel, one of her large litter." "Where is she?" I asked. "Close, Lake Placid. We can get her tomorrow." 2.5 hours into the high mountains, there is a storm predicted. The hard rain began to fall at Saratoga and followed us up the interstate until we left it for the deep drive into the mountains, where the fog joined the rain. But before Lake Placid, we followed the old military road up the slope looking for a red barn. We found it, and inside a 6 squealing pups with their dom and their sire. My wife knew Maggie instantly, and after the papers and money were exchanged, Maggie was in a box, sitting on my wife's lap. The rain came down in sheets. We crawled back to the interstate, getting lost only once. As we reached the main road, I looked over to see Maggie out of her box, her head stretched up to rest on my wife's breast. Maggie was home. Thank you.